Right into the first entry, let's talk about Hydrodipped Carbon Fiber. Now, a lot of people call this rice, but some people really love it. You're kind of on one side of the fence or the other. The thing I find strange is the people who are okay with this are the people you usually think would call it rice. So, as a Corvette owner, I'm surrounded by lots of other Corvette owners and Corvette clubs, and I shouldn't hide the fact that they're old, obviously. A lot of them are really old, in fact, and you would think they would hate the idea of fake carbon, right? No, they love it. They'll hydro dip their wheels, they'll hydro dip their interior, they'll hydro dip their engine bay. And to be fair, if you're not hydro dipping carbon fiber specifically and you're just doing another pattern, I think it's really cool. The way it works, if you don't know, is it's basically hydrographics. You basically dip an item into water that has graphics inlaid over it. You'll print that design onto the item you've dipped. Of course, there's a certain technique you must use to make sure to actually bonds properly, otherwise a pattern will just stretch and become ruined, and stretching is really ugly looking. But otherwise, I would say I personally think this is really cool, and you have to remember carbon fiber is still really expensive, especially carbon fiber wheels. Carbon fiber wheels are like 10 grand minimum and 20 grand, probably even more than that, like 25 grand. And on some of the supercars and hypercars, they even have like 50 grand sets of carbon fiber wheels, but you can literally turn any wheel into a carbon fiber wheel look-alike if you just hydro dip it. Generally speaking, it's gonna cost about $400 for a whole set, and you just need to have a nice set of wheels ready for that. So I wouldn't recommend doing this to an ugly design rims, otherwise it's gonna stretch and not properly go around it, or it's just gonna look awkward. But if you have a very open spoke design, it looks something that would be believable if it had carbon fiber laid over it. And like I said, take it to professionals, they're really good with this, they've done it for several years, and you'll basically get a carbon fiber looking wheel. Obviously it's not gonna be as light as one, it's not gonna have any functionality of one, but what I'm saying is for 400 bucks you can literally turn your wheels to look like a $20,000 item. And if that doesn't live up to the title of this video, I really don't know what else could. So the next one's actually a bit more expensive, and that's vinyl wrapping. More specifically, gold chrome wraps. And don't get me wrong, I hate chrome wraps. I especially hate gold chrome wraps. In fact, many car enthusiasts hate it. But unfortunately, like 90% of non-car people think it's the coolest thing ever. And also 100% of GTA 5 players also think it's the coolest thing ever. So a lot of non-car people I talk to, and even like non-car YouTubers like Critical, I remember in one of his podcasts he mentioned seeing a gold painted Mustang and was like, wow, that must be a really expensive car. And I don't blame him or many others who think that, because gold paint, so using actual authentic gold to paint a car, will cost anywhere from $15,000 to even $100,000, depending on what kind of gold and what the quality it was used and how big the car is as well, and how nice you want the paint job to be, whether you want it to just be, let's be real, if you're buying gold paint, you're not going to go to Mako, and you're probably still not even going to go to like a 10,000, 7,000 place. You're going to pay a lot for labor, because you don't want orange peel if you're going to buy gold paint. So to get non-orange peeled gold paint that's evenly applied all over your car, you're gonna sink tons of money, or you could just vinyl wrap it. So the advantage of vinyl over paint is that it doesn't orange peel because it's not sprayed onto the vehicle, it's just a giant sticker. There are a lot of non-car people, probably 80% of them, who still don't know vinyl wrapping's a thing. And the 20% who do know vinyl wrapping's a thing, they don't know that you can do it to just regular personal vehicles. If you're a non-car person who's found your way to this video, which chances are a lot of you will, because a lot of people just want to make their car look expensive, whether they're a car enthusiast or not. If you've ever seen these commercial cars drive around with those giant like advertising wraps on them, that's what vinyl wraps are. You can actually just buy that in a solid color, and you're like, why would anyone do that? They don't want to advertise anything anymore if nothing's written on it, which that's the point. If you're someone buying it for a personal vehicle, you don't want anything written on it. You're just gonna get a solid color. And the appeal of that is vinyl wrapping is much cheaper than a paint job. For example, painting my Corvette, 7 grand average for a decent job. To get a factory OEM quality finish, which by the way, my car from factory still has orange peel in it, so it's 10 grand because my car has all these vents and other things you have to worry about. To wrap my car, anywhere from 2.8 grand to 4.5 grand, depending on what pattern I pick and what requests I make. Point is, it's 1/3, even 1/4 of the price, and that holds true for a lot of cars. Back onto the topic of gold, painting your car gold is several tens of thousands of dollars, but doing a gold chrome wrap only cost $4,000, and it looks like $100,000 modification. So once again, this is some serious return on investment for people who really want to look the flex and make people think their car is some super crazy expensive vehicle. Like I said, you're gonna fool probably 90% of the people who look at it. They're gonna think, not only are they gonna think it's a gold paint job, they're also gonna be like, wow, it has no orange peel in it. It's perfectly evenly applied. They'll know that you got a really high rate gold paint job when actually it's a wrap that doesn't have the ability to orange peel in the first place, but they don't know that. Obviously, if you go to car meets and you're in the circle and know-how of car enthusiasts, we're gonna know it's a wrap, and we're also not gonna be impressed with it because most people think these are barf-looking finishes and they don't think chrome is really pretty. But like I said, if that's we're not the majority. As much as I hate to admit it, as a car enthusiast, I know dang well we are not the majority, and I know dang well that non-car people think this is really cool. So you know what? More power to you. Now you know how to do it, because I'm sure a lot of non-car people watching this video probably saw a gold painted car and was wondering how it looks that cool and how they could do it themselves. Now you know it's much cheaper than you realize, and now you can fool other people too. The next thing on this list is diamond stitched leather interior. So a lot of this diamond stitching used to really be available for supercars, so you'll see like Lambos and Ferraris that have it all along their interior, as well as even in the freaking footwells and where the transmission tunnel and center console is. And it looks pretty cool, especially when it wraps around from the center console and transmission tunnel area right to your footwell. It just looks really, really nice. So there are a lot of companies that specialize in doing this diamond stitching out of authentic leather. Probably it's like one of the lower grade authentic leather because it's really cheap for a reason, but look, it's gonna look pretty nice for a few years at least. And the reality is it does look pretty nice. I think it looks really cool, and they've conformed these designs to many cars. Like you can now buy them. They make ones for Camaros, they make ones for Mustangs. I'm pretty sure they even make ones for like Honda Accords. A lot of expensive sports cars and supercars will feature painted wheel lips to add some extra flair. However, there are two problems with this. The first is that it's costly to do, and the second is that it's even more costly to maintain, because if you ever curb them, you're gonna cry. But what if I told you that you could have the flair and style of colored wheel lips without the high price and without the worry of curb rash? That's where companies like Alloy Gators, Rim Savers, and Rim Blades come in. I'm not sponsored by any of them. I'm gonna link all of them in Amazon. So the sole reason I'm mentioning them is I just really like their product. Now, given I do have a slight bias to Rim Savers since I have personal experience with their product particularly. Basically, they're rubberized wheel trim. They're meant to go outside along the lip of your wheel. And not only does it create the same stylish flair that painted wheel lips do, but because the material is rubberized, that means if you rub it up against the curb, no damage is done. So I got new wheels for my Z06 about a year ago. I've since put 15,000 miles on them, on both the wheel and the rim savers I used to protect them. However, I've finally taken them off, and I'm proud to say that not only have they succeeded at their job in protecting my lips from curb rash, the adhesive I used to seat them to begin with also left no trace, just use Goo Gone. And also during the installation process, use like a wooden mallet to smooth it into place. Do not use your fingers. A lot of people who install these use their fingers and then have them rip off while driving, which also causes the adhesive to rip off more aggressively. That's just not how it is. Just use a wooden mallet that not only applies it more firmly, it applies the adhesive more balanced, and that way if you do someday need to remove them, it's not going to tear your paint off. I will mention as to why I removed them finally is because I had to get my run flat tires rotated because I have an asymmetrical setup. When you remove run flats, unfortunately, these come off. I personally will never be a customer of these again, surely due to the fact that that's just going to be super annoying. And now that I'm used to the offset of my new wheels, I haven't hit a curb in like the past year. All the curbs I've hit were within the first 2 to 3 months of having that new offset because I wasn't used to having wider wheels that poked out more than usual. And the fact that there's just no damage on any of them just truly shows as a testament that these aren't false advertising. So if you want something that looks cooler, or even if you don't want the style, so let's say you just want to protect your rims, you can just buy generic black colored ones to match your tires. The final thing on this list are ground effects. Now these aren't as controversial as aero mods. Every single website I looked at kept saying if you want to make a cheap car look sportier, add spoilers and hood scoops and fake vents, and I just think that's terrible advice. As a car enthusiast, that's not what's gonna impress people. And even the non-car people, they've caught on to how unnecessary big spoilers or wings will look, and how unnecessary unwanted hood scoops and non-functional vents are. So if you want a nice way to make your car look sportier, more expensive, but also actually protect your car, get better gas mileage, get better aero, and even keep your car clean longer, you should run ground effects. A set of ground effects includes a splitter, 2 rocker panels, and a diffuser. So let's talk about them each individually. So first and foremost, splitters, I love them, anyone should run them. Even for like a Honda Accord Coupe, these are offered for them, and no matter what car you put them on, I think they look cool. I don't think they're gonna go out of fashion anytime soon because of how much of a purpose they serve. So splitters protect your front bumper from cracking whenever you hit curb collisions, or more specifically, they can serve as a warning so you don't hit things to begin with. For example, if you're pulling up in front of a pole at your local grocery market, if you go too far, your splitter will hit it first, not your front bumper. So you'll know to, oh, better hit the brakes, and congratulations, you saved a front bumper cracking and denting in, and that's thousands of dollars worth of repairing the dent. Sometimes they even have to replace it because most bumpers these days are fiberglass or not even metal, so you can't pull the dents out. $1,000 later, you're just kind of upset. Versus a freaking $80 splitter that ironically will not crack. These are designed to take damage. I have one on my Corvette that, the ones on the Corvettes are about $350, but even so, like for how expensive, like relative to the Corvette's price, that's considered cheap. And this thing I've beat up on. I've scraped it on slopes, I've bumped it into curbs, I've also even tapped things, because I don't have front sensors on my Corvette. When I first bought it, having that long of a hood really throws it off. But my splitter extends 4 inches forward more, which is the perfect amount of protection. So I've been there, alright? I'm not embarrassed to admit it. I've collided into things only to have nothing but the splitter just get a little bit of, like splitters are meant to take damage. I've hit it probably 25 plus times at this point, and here's what it still looks like. My splitter still looks basically like it did new, versus your front bumper hitting all those things I mentioned. Within 1 or 2 times, you're gonna crack your front bumper. Like you run into it pulling your front bumper even once, even at like 5 miles an hour, it's game over. Most cars with fiberglass bumpers just crack at that point, versus having a splitter that just saves you so much money. Moving on to rocker panels, these prevent rocks from going upwards and bouncing along the side skirts of your car. By having these rocker panels, they instead will bounce against them and then back towards the road and just away and underneath your car. It's also really nice if you have a vehicle that has really thick tires, especially front tires, because really thick and sticky front tires will pick up lots of pebbles and just spit them all over your rear fenders and along your side skirts. But if you have rocker panels, they're going to hit those instead and just bounce and deflect away from your vehicle's paint. It's a nice quality of life thing. They also improve gas mileage. If you've ever seen U-Hauls drive around the country, you'll see they even brag about their rocker panels. It's like aerodynamic rocker panels installed on the side of this U-Haul. And that's not just true for a big truck-shaped U-Haul. It's also true for any other car that they're put on, as long as you get ones that are specifically designed for your vehicle. If you put like giant time-attacked ones that are like 1 feet extending out of the bodywork and you're putting that on like a Civic, that's probably going to worsen your gas mileage, but you get the point. Within reason and proper design, these are nice things to just protect paint and also improve MPG slightly. And finally, diffusers. This is more so an aerodynamic component than it is a ground effect, but if you're doing the other ground effects, it's nice to have a diffuser. You can actually just skip this. Most people I know who are non-car people, they usually just buy splitter and rocker set, and a lot of cars these days will actually come from factory with the options to put splitters and rockers, and they won't even talk about the diffuser because admittedly that really is more of a sports car element. But if you want a diffuser, they're nice in the sense that they can, this little lip that they have can prevent a lot of exhaust soot as well as dirt, dust, and rocks from going up towards your rear, because again, it just diffuses it outwards. That's why it's called a diffuser. It also diffuses air outwards, and that's how it generates downforce. So this is more so something that looks a lot more sick and wicked and really sporty, and it's a very big hit or miss for some people, because if this is one where it will be more controversial to put on cars that don't look cool with it, especially if you can't find a well-designed one. They're also a lot more pricier than rockers and splitters are. Having said that, thank you guys for watching. If you're new here and enjoy car content, make sure to subscribe and check out my other videos. If you're interested in anything that was shown in this video, remember I do have them linked to Amazon below. Other than that, see y'all next time. Blade Angel out.